I have notes, I apologise, it's been a very busy couple of weeks, so I need to write stuff down or I'll forget. Cool, so if you ask my parents what I do for a job, this is probably what they would tell you. This was the end result, if anyone's curious. Right.
This the intro.
That was my intro.
We're just swapping between us. This is Jess, obviously. I'm Paul Halford. I guess my role is managing the marketing team, so the easiest way to explain that for us is anything external facing, so with the brand outside of the staff internally. Jess does all the work, really. I guess my role is a sounding board for Jess when there's questions about, can we post this, is this okay, is this going to ruffle feathers, is this crossing the line? So I'm kind of the wet blanket within the team. But what I'm going to do is go through the background of what we do, why we do it. Well, Jess is going to go into more of the how we actually do it and how we execute it with our social strategy. So just setting the scene in terms of what we do. Why? So we've got 1.7 million followers. That's across Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. 1 million of those are on Facebook, so that's by far the biggest platform we've got, with Instagram the next biggest growth area. We're not on Snapchat, we're not on TikTok. If you take any questions on that later if you want. As a team, I just thought it would be useful to show how we work. So essentially we've got myself as marketing and brand manager. We have Jess that manages our social media, so this is our national strategy policy and how we work with our districts. We have 12 police districts on social as well. We have Jae-sung, who is video, so he's essentially our videographer with video content that we want/need to produce. We've got Sabrina, our graphic designer. We've got Kay, who's a senior advisor. Her job title is senior advisor reality TV. So everything she does is Police 10-7, Dog Squad, Highway Cops, Highway Patrol. We have Helen, who essentially manages all our campaign activities. So that's our advertising to market, which I'll go into a bit around that. And Philippa, who supports our marketing and our social media side of things. There's a fair whack that comes under needing support for marketing channels and our social media channels. A lot of other agencies have a whole lot of social. I think there's a bit of a belief that we have 10 people managing social. So we have Jess, we have Philippa, and then the staff and districts that support that. So most of the stuff you will see comes from this lady here and the content that we pump out. Our overall arching team, so we have a media and communications team. So we have a media team that manage approximately 60,000 media inquiries each year. So that's a whole lot. I think it would be a fair whack compared to the rest of government in total. Strategic communications, which is your traditional government corporate comms team, as opposed to the media team who are all reactive. We have an internal communications team, so they're all about managing our 14,000 staff across the country. And then we have our team, the marketing communications team, which is everything external. So whatever goes outside of the organisation has the brand as part of it. Our key drivers are pretty clear for us. It's about connecting with the public. It's about sharing stories and educating people on what we do. So telling a good news story. It's about police and districts around the country. Big thing we talk about is putting a human face to policing. So we try really hard to humanise policing. So it's about showing that our police staff, our officers, our commissioner, our senior sergeants, they are people just like you. So they're out doing a job, but they are a human face as well. And building trust and confidence, which is a key part of, we have a document internally called Our Business. So if you think of a big A3 infographic, it's essentially our strategy on a page. So our business articulates where we as an organisation need to go. So for us, well actually for everyone in the organisation, it comes down to, it's about our vision, which is to be the safest country in the world. It's about our purpose, which is ensuring everybody is safe, be safe and feel safe. And for us, the social media has such a clear link to everything on our business. So when we talk about our business, it is what we do. It is about trust and confidence. So we also have trust and confidence. A measure that we put out with the public, we normally come along with a couple of dogs, by dogs I mean fluffy dogs, but we have none. So the best we could drum up was a couple of police cars. So they're as good as giveaways go. But any guess on what police trust and confidence would be with the New Zealand public? Yeah, sorry. Good clarification. What percentage trust and confidence do you think the New Zealand public would have in police?
85.
Down.
70.
5.
80.
78. So you can have that quality police car. So we have 78% trust and confidence, which is pretty strong. I think if you looked across public sector, that would be what we'd be happy with. But we're always striving to get that trust and confidence figure up higher from where it is, and that tracks fairly steadily. But as you can imagine, depending on what happens, that can influence where that trust and confidence is.
Different segments of the audience may have different.
Absolutely, would have different views, and there are different when you look at different demographics and segments of society. There are different views on trust and confidence. So, social media is a platform that we look at. How can we help influence that with stories and the education of what police are doing? So, who's had just by show of hands, who's had a face-to-face interaction with a police officer in the last 3 months? Half a dozen. And I guess that's part of the key where I was trying to get to. So, how do you think most people form their views from New Zealand police?
Media.
Media. Essentially, that's where I'm going. That most people have not been pulled over roadside. Most people have not had to go into a police station to report crime or to ask a question about something they need to know about. Most people are seeing things on the news, on the media, or through social media. So bring that back to trust and confidence. That is why when we look at this, we go, well, if most people aren't having face-to-face, where do they pick up the news? Where do they pick up the stories? There's a lot from social media and online. So for us having that 1.7 million following is a fairly big platform to look at how can we try and influence and shape the stories that are out there. So there's a whole heap of different things that we know we need to do as part of our social media. So one of those things is how do we push recruitment side of things. So there's a target of 1,800 new cops by 2023. So 1,800 is quite a big chunk. So every time we have a wing that graduates, there's 80 in each wing. So there's tuning through every single month. How do we make sure we've got enough police on the street in line with government targets and what we're trying to work towards? And there's we have targets around female, so diversity. So we look at how do we make sure the police service is representative of male, female. Ethnicity. What's the balance of multi-Pacific Asian officers, for example? What's the age range? You have people graduating that are 18. There was a guy, 64, that graduated as an example we used from police college last year, I think it was. So there's no age cutoff. It's just bringing the right people and what they can bring to serving police as part of what we want for the police. Does everyone know this number? 10.5. So last year we introduced a new non-emergency number. So how do we bring our messaging in so that we're talking about building awareness out there that actually if it's already happened, this is the number to call, not 111. So that's another thing we've had to add into the mix of what we're talking about. Reality TV, so talked about Kay's role. So this is a big thing that influences trust and confidence for us. And again, how do we use that? Social, how do we push Police 10-7 and Crime of the Week? How do we push the serious crimes that we need to get out there? So that's just a snapshot of what we are doing in reality TV, but we know we're getting 200,000 to 500,000 viewers each week. So what does that play as a role for building trust and confidence, and how does that tie in with our social media messaging? Road policing. So road policing is something we're in partnership with the NZTA about. We're not about for. Generally, all the advertising you will see, that comes from NZTA, and they have a big job delivering that messaging out there to the market. But there's also a role for New Zealand Police and how do we encourage safe driving and safer roads and less small road toll, less serious crashes. This is quite a big part of what we do on social media. If you follow us regularly, if you follow our content regularly, you'll see that there's quite a bit that we talk about road policing. So I guess that's something that applies to every single one of us. And that is a job that we as enforcement can do that supports what messaging we've got out there through NZTA and their safer journeys. But essentially, where I'm getting at with this is all of our activity, everything we have in our paid advertising and our reality TV space has a role that crosses over with social media, so we will always use social media to drive our campaigns. So this here was our campaign last year around essentially bringing who you are as a police officer. So it was about tattoos and the stories they tell, because we want everybody from different backgrounds. We launched that through social. If you think of our historical campaigns, big videos, they've always gone through social. Police communicators, these are the people in the call centres and the comm centres that answer the 111 calls, the 10-5 calls. We have a job where we need those numbers filled as well, so we will push that out through social media as well. So for guests and people around the districts doing social, there's a lot of different content we need to make sure we're plugging in. I guess with that comes a lot of challenges internally where everyone has different priorities. So how do we make sure we're balancing the messages that we know work on a pages versus what every part of police is looking for? But it's also about how do we reflect our values and what we do as well. So we've got 6 values. So commitment to Māori and the treaty, value in diversity, respect, empathy, and professionalism and integrity. So everything we're doing is around how do we make sure what we are delivering with the content, the messaging, is giving us that mix of that, those conversations we're trying to shape. So there's a lot in there in terms of how do we fit it in, how do we get that balance right, which ties in there right at the end with increasing trust and confidence, because it all comes back to that for us. So that's kind of the, doesn't go a day in the office that we won't not say trust and confidence within any conversation we have. We'll also use social to look at how do we use targeting for certain initiatives we want to be doing. So taking these examples, this was our top, we've got our Piri Hamana car, and then our Pride car. We also had a Pacifica car. So we're always looking at how do we use these to engage the community and how does social tie into that. So these have all been rolled out through social media to reach those different pockets of the communities we're trying to talk to. And most recently, even as of last night, we had content that was up about to reach our Pacific communities around COVID messaging. So knowing that there's most of the cluster is in Auckland communities, South Auckland, how do we get content up there that's reflecting back? So again, a lot of conversation internally to get that messaging right and get it to that point, but it was always how do we push it out through the channels and that 1 million following we have on Facebook. And I think a key part of where we've done very well and we have a good opportunity to push it even more is how do we use that brand personality and tone. And I know it's easy to stand here and talk about just establish your brand, establish your voice, it's easy. It actually takes a while to get to that point, and I think we've, in the last probably 3 or 4 years, I think we've got to a point where we've been almost an expectation of the type of voice and tone we have in our marketing through our recruitment campaigns that has then flowed through to how do we do that in social. And we push the boundaries, absolutely, with how we do that. And I think a lot of that credit goes to Jess with talking as police in a way that people might not think. So it's, again, having that humanising policing to say, actually, whether people think Jess is an officer behind the keyboard or a mum, as you refer to, times, or dad jokes, it's still how do we engage with people and actually bring that tone that we're looking at. So the way I like to kind of refer to it is using, to be honest, I think this came from the internet somewhere, I can't quite remember, so we'll assume it's right. But Red Bull gives you wings. They're about being fun and adventurous, they have a young kind of feel to them, ambitious. Their personalities around you, ever reliable, fun, go-to friend. If you look at Apple, they want to be positioned as a leader, want to be innovative, one step ahead, definitely knowledgeable, and we are the most knowledgeable out there. Professionalism, so they're around, we are the trusted tech experts. So when you take that and try to apply it with how we are, we look at it as, and you talk to different people at police, they may have a slightly different spin on this, but it's your caring and approachable older sibling, not a teacher, not a lecturer, not your best friend, but we want positive associations coming from that personality we have. So this is about the trust and confidence and how do we convey that. Someone you can trust, you can approach to go to when you need them. So I guess the ethos of what we're trying to do is how do we convey that in our brand? Because all of these things, you'll have a bit of lightheartedness to how you talk about stuff. You'll have a bit of seriousness when you need to. So when we look at our social, it's how do we deliver this personality with our approach when we talk to all of you, to the New Zealand public. But at the same time, there are challenges that come from our social role, and I think we're in quite a space where there is a fair bit of attention with how we how we need to respond on things, because these are a couple of examples. So social media advice to cops: dial back the puppies. So perhaps not helpful if you start off with some puppies up front, and we've got puppies throughout the presentation. But as Jess will talk about, we know this kind of content is what gets engagement. So there's no point in having our pages engaging down here, and then when we have a really serious message we need to get through, it's not getting any cut through because we don't have that page engagement up. So our job is to make sure that our pages are performing really well, so when we need to bring in those messages, whether it's about COVID or whether it's about White Island or March 15, the engagement's there, and we know the puppies do that well. Police's Instagram popularity could be problematic, so that's more so about, again, looking at the tone and how we're engaging with the community. So we're quite unapologetic, I guess, in some ways, to say we need to get the right content, to get the mix, to get the engagement on our pages, because if we're not, it's not going to do the job for police. And our job is to make sure that it's at a good point, so when you need the serious messages and you need those particular messages getting cut through, we can do that. So Instagram allows us to do that, as does Facebook and all those channels that are part of our policy. But really, I guess for us, and I guess for anybody in the public sector, we've always got that risk radar that this is taxpayer money. Whether that's questions about how much time we spend, our resourcing, the budget we put in towards it, there's always that attention. And we know there's a lot of people looking at our pages just to see how well we are doing that. Part of the questions put to us, and that's part of Meg's job, because there are expectations of the police. So we need to find a balance of that humour versus expectations of police, which, as I said, is around how do we get that mix of strategies and pillars. So Jess is going to talk around the different pillars we operate with, how we get our content out there for people to see. Questions like, surely police have better things to do than sit on social media. We're not police officers. It says very clearly here we hold no power, sadly. But our job is to make sure that, as I said, we're in a good place so we can deliver those messages to social media, whether you love it or hate it. It is a platform that a whole heap of New Zealanders are on every single day, so our job is to make sure that it's working as well as it can. We get a lot of Official Information Act requests and media inquiries, so for us and the wider media and communications team, it is about that self-awareness. How's this going to be perceived, either by the public or in the media? So we've always got that radar, that filter on in terms of what we are doing. And as I said earlier, we can push the boundaries, and we've developed a brand and personality that has put us in that position. But the risk radar is always on. I think that was part of my point earlier around saying with Jess in our role, where I'm sometimes a wet blanket, is this okay? And there's that fine line, but again, our job is to get those messages out there. So we'd be doing a disservice in a way if we weren't having the page perform so that we can get messages out so everybody sees it. Which flows in to Jess. So this is more about how do we actually do this in a practical sense and the strategy behind it.
Our presentation is a little bit skew because we've combined two, so we may double up. Cool. So this is our social media strategy. The strategy is based around posting content that relates or fits into one of the three content pillars. So we've got community engagement, operational, prevention. Anything we post is always going to fall under one of these three. Cool. So like Paul has talked to, it is really important. Humanising police is a big part of what I'm trying to do every day. This is an example of, I think this was last lockdown. Some grandparents contacted us and had us surprise Mace on his 5th birthday because they weren't able to be there, so we had some cops show up with his presents. And yeah, he firmly believes that police know everyone's birthdays and that's why we were there, but we won't tell him, hopefully he doesn't say this. Here's an example of a post I did last Mother's Day. Tegan's actually a really good friend of mine. She's been in police, I think, about 6 years. She's got 2 small children. Her husband is also a dog handler and part of the Unoffender Squad. With this post, I really wanted to do something that was really inclusive instead of just celebrating everyone who was mums on Mother's Day. It's really important that our social media reflects the everyday life, for the public and for our police. So I think that this is a good example of that. Cool. As Paul talked about, road policing is obviously something that's really important to us. So we're constantly trying new ways of getting in front of more eyeballs. These are obviously 3 that Paul let me post. There's definitely a lot that don't make the cut. That's true. I'm like, can I post that? And you're like, no. And I'm like, shit, already done it. Here's just another one. The good thing about formats like this is you use it once, you can use it a million times, change the colours, change the text. This one got global attention. I think a few jurisdictions overseas stole it. Some more serious. I try and get my children into all my presentations. It's free talent, so why not? Cool. So I guess this is one of those more serious, hard-hitting messages that Paul spoke about. We do all the fun stuff. We post the dogs, but it does enable us to have really high engagement on the page. So when we've got important messages to get through, we know that we're going to get cut through, and we know that more people are going to see them. Cool. This is what you guys are probably here for. Did you know that today's International Dog Day? Yay. Cool. So Friday Floof was born in May 2019. I know it sounds like it's a child, but it kind of is. It came after the realisation and probably Paul telling me that I'm not actually allowed to just post puppies every day. I realised that, but we're 3 years in now. Cool. So here, with Friday Floof, obviously the puppy is what gets your attention, but generally I try and put an important message with it. Just a couple of examples here. It's been so good that other agencies have jumped on. We've got one here from St. John, which is pretty cute. Defence Force, and then this fan submission here. I think it's the social media manager from Karen Walker. So that was quite cute. People have been going and buying the soft toys so they can take the harness off and put it on their dogs. I feel like I should be getting some kind of cut from that, but we'll discuss that later. Cool. Moderation is super important given the model that we follow, like Paul touched on. So we've got the 12 police districts. You've got me kind of managing all the national stuff within district. Each district has a social media lead who's generally a senior sworn officer who kind of acts as the gatekeeper of their district page. Obviously, a lot of our national messaging can feed into district pages, but it is really important that we're getting that district-specific content. Cool. So to stand out, you have to be intuitive. Obviously, understand your audience, understand your business and brand, have a clear message and purpose, and have a leader that enables you to act quickly. Cool. So some people love it. We quite often get, oh, your social media manager should get a raise. I just screen cap those. Send them to you, but you don't reply. Why?
She really does screen cap.
I actually do. Some people don't, but it's cool. We don't always get it right. I think it's probably worth noting. I've been in trouble many times. Did anyone see this post? The Jen and Brad? No. Okay. That was after the. What was it? Wasn't it something?
One of them.
One of them. Anyway, I did something I probably shouldn't have, and I grabbed the picture that was already crazy viral, and somebody OAA had me pay for it. No, we hadn't, but it done the job. We got lots of applications. I deleted it. Everyone was happy. We like to jump on the odd kind of topical trend. Obviously, as police, it's really important to know where that line is, even though I do dance around it quite a lot. We're only going to jump in where and when it's appropriate. Cool. Obviously, it's not all good. I think even you said to me, you got the best job. You get to play with puppies. It's definitely not all. It's not all fun. So some of the major events that I've helped manage the crisis comms for, specifically March 15, very topical at the moment given the sentencings going on. I was actually up in Auckland. We were launching the Pacifica car at Polyfest, and you called me. Paul called me. We're in the Corrie Lounge, and Paul calls me and says, we have an active shooter situation. It's bad. Followed by multiple calls within minutes that there was a live stream. We need your help. So I managed to locate the live stream, and within 7 minutes we had the live stream down. But unfortunately, within that 7 minutes, 250 people were watching. People screen recorded. For the worst was about to be replayed essentially across the internet for days to come, and I was put on Operation Deans, and I was removing objectionable material off the internet for weeks, if not what felt like months. The world was watching. We reached over 60 million people within the first 48 hours of the incident happening. Communicating facts and fast was key, and we had, I think, 65,000 new followers in March of 2019. Whakaari, White Island, another one. Communication was essential, and obviously social media played a really big part in us delivering timely and accurate communications. More recently, the death of one of our own, Constable Matt Hunt. Given the media coverage on this one, it was really important that we provided updates while also being respectful to the other officers involved and also Matt's family. We chose to live stream the funeral, which was a request of Matt's mum. So I think the feed reached about 1 million people. Yeah.
And possibly COVID, I think, to add to that. It's obviously not leading, but it's how do we give that reassurance and the update on what police are doing in this space. There's been a lot of.
Yes, you'll probably see the Wellington Paranormal and the Creative Genius series has kind of started back up. It's just something we're doing to support the all government campaign.
I think during lockdown, 3 or 4 used to talk about those 65,000 in 1 month. I think it was 23,000 new followers in 1 week during lockdown. So again, it's people coming for that information that they see police can support them within 1 month. So supporting the overarching government campaign going on there.
And while we weren't the lead agency, people, I guess we're kind of known for getting stuff out and fast. So yeah, while we weren't the lead agency on it, we worked to support MOH and the all government team to make sure that, we're working to the same messaging.